Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. It is Coach Candy here with Coffee Chats. It is Wednesday Wonder. We are going to jump into the space of Imagine If today and dance in some possibilities. So welcome, everyone. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your water, grab your juice, grab whatever it is that gets you that extra boost in the morning to get you up and going and firing on all cylinders. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Let everybody jump on here in just a minute because we're going to have a big, juicy conversation today about Audacity. We're going to talk about tapping back into, good morning, Deborah. We are going to talk about how to tap back into that core essence space of what used to light you up when you were younger. Good morning, Connie Joe. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It is hump day. Good morning, Patricia. Love seeing everyone jump on. As always, we'll just give everybody a minute. You know, we got some people that want to jump into this conversation today. So how is everybody doing? Are you ready for the fourth holiday? Tomorrow's 4th of July. So blows my mind. It's crazy how fast this year is going, and just crazy. So hopefully everybody's got some good plans, that you're going to be safe, and make sure you take care of those puppies too. I know I've got some friends' house I'm going over to tonight because we do 4th of July on the 3rd here. And I know that when the fireworks start, I'm actually going to head home because Peyton does not do so well with the fireworks or thunderstorms. So I like to be here for my baby and make sure he's not totally freaking out. So if you have animals, pets, whatever, please be mindful of the fact that for most of them, the fireworks of 4th of July is not a fun time. They are very anxious, oftentimes looking for a space to hide and some refuge. So I just want you to know, just want to put that out there, that be mindful of those critters, be mindful of people that have PTSD. This can be a very challenging time for them. And so I just say that because I think, you know, sometimes we forget that. We get caught up in the celebration. We get caught up in, oh, it's, you know, it's great, the fireworks, the noise, the hype. And there are people that actually suffer through this holiday, and animals as well. So anyway, that's just my little soapbox morning moment for the morning. Just want you to be mindful of that. Yeah, the horses get a bit excited, and sometimes the dogs. Peyton completely freaks out. He will be in the closet shaking like a leaf, and so I'll give him rescue remedy and may have to pull out the Thunder shirt tonight because he does not do well with the fireworks at all. And so just again, just be mindful of that. We want to be sure that we're giving our loved ones, those that may have some PTSD, those that are little fur babies, that we are protecting them and making them feel safe. That is our job. And, you know, sometimes I'll sit on my balcony and watch the fireworks just so that I can be here and keep an eye on him as well and make sure he's not overstressing. So again, just my little plug for the morning. And let's jump into some conversation then. I want you to think about, when was the last time you truly felt like you were fearless? You know, that space when you were really young, and think about, I want you to tap back as far back as you can remember. I mean, your littlest version of you. You could have been 3, 4, 5, whatever it was. And I want you to think about that place where you were fearless. Like there was nothing that could stop you. You had absolutely nothing you were afraid of, despite people going, watch, the stove is hot, or whatever it is. I mean, there's things we've learned to protect ourselves so that we're not burning our hand on the burner on the stove. And yet there was this like spirit in us. There was this fire. There was this unknowingness that created this sense of like spirit and fearlessness and our ability to stand forward. Good morning, Tanya. And so I want you to think about, when was the last time you felt you were in that space? Like you were really fearless. That was that. You were bold, you were daring, you were courageous. Like you didn't think about what might happen or how you might fail or how you might fall or skin your knee. I think about, man, I used to climb the biggest trees, right? It didn't matter. I never thought about it. And I can remember my dad saying to my mom, he's like, oh my God, she's going to fall and break her neck. And no, it was my mom saying that, or my grandmother. I don't remember who it was. I think it was actually my grandmother. She's like, stop letting her climb trees. She's going to fall and break her neck. And I think it was my mom who responded and said, well, if she breaks her neck, then I guess she'll learn her lesson. There was just no fear. I was one of those kids that had, good morning, had absolutely no fear. I mean, there was nothing I was afraid of as a kid. If it was something that I was curious about, I would pick up the grossest thing. I would dig into whatever. I had this insatiable sense of curiosity, this insatiable sense of wonder. And so I had zero fear. I was what I would call audacious. And in fact, there was a lot of people that would call me precocious and audacious, which sometimes people say that with a negative connotation. And I think it's one of those spaces, just like when we talk about the two box, you know, you're to this, you're to that. Oftentimes we think it's a limiting aspect of who we are, when actually it's our strength, right? And so I loved when people called me precocious. I loved when people called me audacious. Good morning, Mario. And so I want you to think about that. I want you to think about when you were in that space. We all have that. We all have that inherent space when we're children, of this audaciousness, of this fire, of this spirit, of this heart, of this grit. Like there's this moxie about us. By the way, I love that word. Think about that. We don't use that word enough. When's the last time you said, man, I had a little moxie in that space? And you know what I'm talking about? There's a little swagger in your step. There's a little, and it's not arrogance. I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm not talking about that egotistical space. I'm talking about that space where you're really deep in your confidence, where there's just a knowing that says, you know what, I'll figure it out. Which, by the way, confidence, the very definition of confidence is knowing that you will figure it out even if you don't know how to get there, right? It's the faith, it's the trust that while you may not know how to do something right now, that you trust you'll figure it out. That's what confidence really is. It's not knowing how to do something. It's knowing that you'll figure out how to get there if it's something that you really want. So there's a difference in that, right? But we had this moxie. And so I'm gonna talk about audaciousness and moxie today, because I want you to, just for a moment, so I want you to reach back. I want you to, regardless of how old you are, I want you to reach back. And I want you to get really honest with yourself right now. And I want you to think about, when's the last time you were truly audacious? And audacious, the definition being the willingness to take bold risks. I mean, like big ass, bold risks, the stuff that could be like game changers, not the half-ass, halfway, sort of toe in kind of risk. I'm talking about the bold risks. That means you could have face planted, like face down on the pavement, skinned your knee, looked up and just laughed at the world and said, holy crap, I just took the biggest ass risk and I still survived, right? It's the being in the arena, as Brene Brown would say. When's the last time you really felt you were audacious? And think about it, words like bold, daring, you were brave, you were courageous, you had this spirit and this confidence, this grit, this spunk, right? I love that, spunk. Think about that. You look at there's some kids that you look at, you're like, man, they got some spunk. The guts to step forward, right? The heart, and like I said, the moxie. And so I want you to think about, when's the last time you really, really owned that? I was old even as a kid. I don't remember not being afraid of something. Last time I had no fear, the feeling was chemically induced. I rode one of our ex-race horses. I was coming off anti-anxiety meds. Deborah, first of all, that's incredibly open and vulnerable, and I deeply honor you for sharing that. I know that's not an easy statement to put out there, and I will tell you, as an old soul myself, there were times when I was much older than my age growing up, and I had way too much responsibility as a kid. There's been a lot of stuff that we hand down and I want you to think about this, and it's one of the things I released last weekend when I was in Vancouver at the trees, right, was the generational legacy of ancestral fear and stories and programming that we offer, that sometimes we come into this world already carrying burdens of past things from our family. We come in this world already being an old soul, wanting to take care of people. We come in this world with a lot of responsibility. Good morning, Audra. Oh my gosh, how great to see you. We come into this world and we're already in a space of responsibility. And so for some of us, it is hard to tap into that space of what audacity meant, what it felt like to be audacious, what it felt like to have that moxie to be able to step forward and like feel like we were daring and bold and courageous. And so and there's a little bit of a sadness I have when I see that says you don't have an experience where you can tap back into. So what I want you to do, and this is where we're at today. Again, it's not the shame game. We don't ever play that here. We play a space that says, so what would that look like? So imagine if you could take off the adulting cap for a day. And by the way, most of us adult way too much. We're in a space where we're so worried about all the responsibilities we have that we're forgetting to just suck the marrow out of life, right? Carpe diem, really step into a space to just play and be childlike. And for some of us that have had those responsibilities growing up where we felt like there was this overwhelming burden weighing on us, it's absolutely your opportunity to dance in that space of audacity, that space of letting it all go, to just play and just feel like, what would being in that space of having that moxie, what would it feel like? And so I want you to think about if you're someone that has a similar story to Deborah and you're feeling like, I don't know what that really feels like. I've never really been in that space. I want you to just kind of play with that a little bit. I want you to imagine, because that's our space today, right? It's the Wednesday wonder. It's the space of imagine what that would feel like. Imagine if you could allow yourself a moment to just be audacious, to take the responsibility, to take the adulting, to take all of that heaviness off of you and to literally dance. Think about it when you watch, I think about little girls when they have, their favorite dress on or something, they just spin and twirl, or, they're climbing, kids are climbing trees, or they're out there and they're running as fast as they can and they don't care if they fall. There's never that thought, right? They're not thinking about, oh my God, what if I fall? What if I fall? Good morning, Mateo. They're thinking about how fast can I run? And my sister and I, we like to make analogies in life to Friends episodes. So for those of you that aren't a Friends episode, my apologies. However, for those of you that were a Friends fan or still are, that's one of my guilty pleasures, is just running that on Netflix sometimes in the background when I'm just kind of like chilling out. Is the episode where Phoebe and Rachel are roommates, and they go for a run in the morning, and Rachel's like, which is like so the adulting in us, right? It's that very controlled, very rigid, very systematized. And then Phoebe comes running and she's like all over the place running, and she runs past Rachel, and at first Rachel's really embarrassed, right? And so she makes these excuses and she kind of comes up with a bullshit reason why she can't run. And then she and Phoebe run into each other on another day, and Phoebe's like, you lied to me, this stuff. And she's like, Rachel, sometimes you just gotta let it go, and you just gotta run and let it be wild. And so Rachel tries it and she loves it. Mind you, she runs right into a horse, which is kind of hilarious. But I want you to think about that. I want you to think about letting that go. Good morning, Sheila. I want you to think about letting go of all of the adulting that you're doing. I want you to, even if it's just for a few minutes. And so I'm going to give you some ways to tap into some of that moxie, to tap into that space where maybe you can be a little audacious. And for some of you, maybe it's taking a small audacious step. Maybe it's taking a little step to say, how can I be bold today, right? And one of the things I work with when I work with my one-on-one clients in my mastermind groups is to always say, how are you going to scare yourself today? What's one thing you're going to do personally? What's one thing you're going to do professionally? And what's one thing you're going to do that scares the shit out of you? Like, what's one thing you're going to do that's so big that you could face plant today? And most people look at me like I'm crazy, which, yes, I will attest. True, fair enough. And the thing is if you're not making those bold moves, if you're not finding that space of audacity, if you're not tapping into that fire, that spirit, that heart, that grit, that moxie, you're not going big enough, right? And so I want you to think about, what might that look like? How could you be a little more audacious today? How could you let your hair down, or and I purposely, and mind you, I'm on here many times with my baseball hat, but I even put my pigtails in today because I wanted to pull out my inner child. I wanted to play. We're going to talk about audacity. I want my little inner child to come out and have some fun today. And so here I am. This is pretty much what I look like growing up, right? Baseball hat, pigtails, maybe not the earrings, but still I can adult it a little bit. And so I want you to think about what that might look like for you. What would something feel like? What would audacious look like for you? And it doesn't have to be the big sweeping bold. You can start small, but imagine if you created space to be more audacious today. Imagine if you tapped into that moxie a little bit. And I want you to put that word in front of you, moxie. What does that look like? There's a little swagger in moxie, right? I love that word. And so I want you to think about, it could be as simple as going out to the playground and swinging, right? I've watched adults, they get so afraid, first of all, because our equilibrium changes, that even on the swings, they hold back and they're not allowing themselves to fully enjoy the moment, right? And swing and play. Or maybe you go running, you run like Phoebe, where you're just, your arms are flailing and you're all over the place, instead of that, right? Giving yourself that opportunity to truly like tap into something that's a little more playful, a little more fun. The other thing is, and I tell people, and I have executives that do this, because oftentimes people are too busy adulting that they haven't stepped into that space of just being wide open, just being free, just being audacious, just having a little fun. And they're so afraid of what other people are thinking and how other people are looking at them and whatever other story or programming is going through their head. And oftentimes, and I have executives do this, I'm like, what's your favorite Disney or movie song, or Muppet song, or your favorite like soundtrack, or your favorite, that song that like Uptown Funk's one of those. I can't listen to Uptown Funk without getting my jam on. And I don't care who's watching, I just have to get into a space, because Uptown Funk gets into my body and my blood and my veins. It gets in and it gets me pumping, right? And so I love that song. It gets me fired up. I also have some Disney songs and Muppet songs that just like totally pump me up. And it's one of those that, you know, that audacious moment. I have a colleague at one of my corporate accounts. We talk about that, and I've talked about this before, the windows up song versus the windows down song. And we all have those windows up songs. And so what do I mean by that? The windows up songs are those songs that you're like, man, I'd be mortified if someone knew I was listening to this. In fact, I remember when I used to train, and I had a personal coach that would come over, and we would do a lot of stuff, boxing moves, we would do MMA, and we would do some hard training, right? And my playlist, I would have my playlist on, and something like Britney Spears would come on and go, seriously, this is on your track? And I'm like, yeah, because the music, the beat of it, I'm not a big fan of hers, but it's such a great, like, gets me into the zone. It's really easy music, song, words that I just can get into that space where I'm like, that would be kind of a windows up song for me. I really don't want people to know that that's on my playlist. Some of you might be like closeted Bieber fans, right? You've got like Justin Bieber going on your track. For me, it's a lot of Disney and Muppet songs. Those are the songs that can really fire in that inner child in me and make me feel like I'm audacious. And so I tend to, one of my bold moves that I will do sometimes is I'll be sitting at the stoplight and I'm looking over and everybody's just so serious, right? Everybody's too busy adulting. And I'm like, man, it's one of those, like, I need a bold move right now. I need something that says I got a little moxie, something that's just gonna like shock people a little. So I actually will roll my windows down and I'll play one of those windows up songs. And so, for example, it might be Bare Necessities from the Jungle Book, right? Bare necessities, whatever it is. And it's funny because people will look at me like I've lost my mind. They will turn their head and you can see them, and I've got such a great peripheral that I'm just like cracking up. I'm like, man, they don't even know what to do with this. But what's interesting is, because we all have that little inner child that wants to play. We all have that space that's just like, yeah, bring it, right? That moxie, that space that you step forward. And it's so funny because I will turn my head and I will literally see people jamming out. They'll just be like, and they're singing, and I feel like screaming, and sometimes I do out my window when we pass. I'm just like, you're welcome, because we need that space. We need that space for play. Good morning, Cynthia. Oh, I love that. Love that. I love that I'm speaking right to your heartstrings. That makes me happy. So I want you to think about that, right? I want you to think about, do you have that outfit? Do you have that thing? Do you get in the mirror sometimes and just get kind of sassy with yourself? There's a little sass to it, right? There's some moxie to it. There's this space that says, how can I show up and be bold today? How can I do things that I don't care what anyone else thinks? I don't care how they judge me. I don't care what they do. I don't care if I face plant today. I just want to go have fun. I just want to be wide open, and I just want to show up and have the most audacious day I possibly can have. And so that's what I want you guys to do. I want you to imagine for a moment, oh, losing the connection often. Oh, I wonder why that's happening. You guys are still on here, so hopefully that's not on my end. I don't know if I don't seem to be having problems here, but sorry to hear that. And good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Terry. So yeah, I want you guys to think about the space of how to create that moxie for yourself, how to tap it. And so like I said, I have some executives that, you know, they'll be adulting too much and it's too serious, and they'll come in and I'll say, so what's your favorite song, right? What's that jam you have that can, like, that Windows Up song? And so I had one, she was chief operating officer. And I said, I want you to play the song. And all of a sudden I heard her giggle. And I'm like, and all of a sudden, on the background, I heard Phenomena on the Muppet song, right? Boom, 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 Phenomena, boom, boom. And I said, you are totally jamming out right now in your office. And she just started giggling. And I'm like, that's getting back into that space, right? We need to stop adulting for 5 minutes. We need to get in that space that allows us to be audacious, allows us to be wide open, and allows us to stop giving a rat's ass about who's going to judge us, who's going to criticize us. Because guess what? Everybody's going to judge you. Everyone's going to criticize you. And it's not about you. It's about their own stories and programming and stuff that's spinning in their head. So why not? Why not allow yourself the freedom to just say, you know what, there's going to be people that think I'm batshit crazy. There's going to be people that think I've lost my mind. There's going to be people that do not understand. And I can either be too serious and adult and create this space where I'm so worried about everybody else's judgment and opinions, or I can just run like Phoebe and let my arms flail and let the inner kid in me out to play, versus always being so tight and controlled and sitting there and going, choo, 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 choo. You get to choose, right? And so today I want you to just imagine. I want you to imagine tapping into that bold, daring, fiery, sassy aspect of who you are. And if you've never met that person, I want you to find a way to introduce yourself to that person. Think about what might allow that audacious. We all have it, even if it's buried in us, even if we've never been given an opportunity as a kid to let that out. You are needing that more than ever to allow that space to just play wide open, to allow that spunk, that grit, and that moxie to come out. And I want you to just keep telling yourself, moxie, moxie, moxie. Frozen, I don't know why I'm frozen, because it's not freezing on my end. I wonder why everybody's having such issues. I apologies for that if it's my computer acting up. I am not freezing on my end, so don't know what's going on. Yes, hopefully the replay is a little bit smoother. Beep, beep, beep. Yes, love that. I can't even sing that right now. The tune's not coming to my head, but I totally get that. B-wee-d-b. Yep. So I want you to play. I want you to put the word moxie in front of you. I want you to say, what is moxie for me? Because I love that word. Isn't that a fun word? Moxie. And I want you to think about how you're going to be audacious today. So today, somehow there might be some technology issues, so apologies for that. But I want you to think about how you're going to be. Imagine if you allowed yourself that space of audacity. Allow yourself to be bold and daring and fiery, and come with a little grit and spunk and sass, and step into your brave, step into your confidence, step into the arena today. But today I want you to step in the arena as a child. I want you to step in and play. I want you to step in and have a little bit of that heart and that sass, and again, that moxie. So with that, everyone, with the holiday, I will be back on Monday. Tomorrow is officially a holiday, and I know for many of you, you're off Friday. And so honoring that space of, you know, it's a holiday. Let's have a really solid holiday weekend. Get your rest, recharge. And I will be back here on Monday morning for Facebook Live, 7:30. We will get into a space. I've got some really cool things to bring forward. So hope you all have an awesome day being audacious today. Go out, find your moxie, and have a little grit, have a little spunk, put a little swagger in your step today. So let's see. Oh, before you go, I got some more comments coming in. Mateo, I play video games. I say silly stuff to my dog. I enlist my friends to go on adventures where I tell them nothing about it, just what to wear. I force myself to start conversations in the moment. I volunteer to babysit and play my ass off when there. I love that. To me, when a kid would just walk up and start a conversation, it is in that moment. Love that, right? Yeah, we're so afraid. Be like, I mean, I was one of those kids. I was walk in a grocery store and be like, hi lady, you know, by the 7th aisle, she was annoyed with me, but it didn't matter. My mom used to say, she's like, you're not the kid we could ever teach to not talk to strangers. And so there are boundaries you need to create. And there's things that we teach our kids to keep them safe. And there's that space of just openness, right? And so that's what I want you to think about when you think about that word audacious, is to think about the openness of it, to think about how to be more bold and daring. I like to freak people out sometimes because I'll talk to them in the elevator, right? That's where everybody wants to be head down. They don't want to make eye contact. And I will say things like, hey, good morning, how are you doing? I'm like, man, we're in a confined space. I want to get to know people. Just be audacious. It can be a little thing. And I want you to think about how to plug in. I want you to think about how to have that moxie. And so, Mateo, thank you for that. Thank you all for hanging in here. Apparently, there must be some wonky things. By the way, on the 7th, Mercury starts to retrograde. So we'll see what kind of technology issues we have then. But hopefully I'm not freezing for everyone. Like I said, not freezing on my end. So I don't know where that's happening from. Also, for those of you, Yes Monthly, that weren't on last night, I will be sending an email. We are moving our live calls to Monday nights now so that more people can jump on. For those of you that still haven't signed up, come join us. We're going to get into talking about audaciousness. We're going to get into some bold moves. Our next big topics are going to be around money mindset and how to create better money management systems and passive income, and how do you open up access for more and play a bigger, bolder game, so that you can be putting yourself out there and giving yourself the financial freedom to create options. So come join us. You also will get a lot of free gifts this month, being my birthday month, if you do so. One of them being my Yes calendar system, which is my entire system to help you with your time management or your focus management, to help you really step in so that you have more playtime. One of the ways that managing your calendar allows you to open up access to really create more white space and playtime. And only way you can be audacious is to have some of that playtime. So hopefully that speaks to you. Join us, Yes Monthly, amazing group of people, and we keep growing, and it's a huge community of people that are lifting each other and loving each other and challenging each other. And so come join us. Tech issues, what did Candy say that prompted this cool response? Oh, that's hilarious. I think I asked how you were being audacious, how you show up, what are some of the ways that you can step into that moxie. So I think that's where Mateo's response came from. So apologies, not sure why we've got some tech issues. I think that might be outside of Texas. It seems like some of you that are not local are having more issues than some of you that are here. So not sure what's going on. Thank you all for hanging in there. Have a phenomenal 4th, and I will catch up with you all next week. Mwah. Bye, everyone.